I watched a film yesterday called Okja. I thought that was boring as fuck.
What was it about?
Basically, a company invents genetically modified pigs.
Welcome back to Would John Rather. How are we doing, team?
I tell you what, it's been so long since we last recorded, I'm not even sure what the format of the show is anymore.
He makes a funny joke because we've had a little recording session this evening. We've been told we need to rush because John is hungry. So, I've proposed seven questions. First of all...
Each with a 30-minute time limit.
Yeah,
and a presentation to the board.
Presentation. I want diagrams. I want an appendices, introduction.
So listeners, stay tuned for the next 3.5 to 4 hours of your life.
For question one.
Oh dear, that's one of the worst openings we've ever done.
I've never wanted to self-harm so much as like thinking I'd be doing this for 3 hours just on one question.
If this is your first time listening to us, folks, we apologise. I say it gets better, but
it doesn't.
It doesn't. It's just us talking shit
all the time.
All the time.
I'm pretty sure the people in California that listen to us have got people trapped in basements and they're forcing them to listen to us.
Well, there's a Would John Rather farm
where they take pigs.
People are being brainwashed.
They take super pigs called Okja to die there.
Yeah, John just told us about a weird film that he watched that was about pigs that they genetically modified.
He didn't like it.
And then a little girl got sad because her pig won. That was everything he told us about the film. So,
and it was shit. He didn't like it.
Yeah, it was not very good. Whereas we went to see Sonic, didn't we, John? Not together.
No, because that would be fine. I don't care what anyone says. 2 adults seeing kids' films is all right.
Yeah, exactly. I got in there and I'd gone by myself because I wanted to support the studio because they'd changed all the design and everything else. And I thought, you know what? I'm interested to see what it's like. And I got in and there was nobody else in the cinema. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And then 3 other lads rocked up, but they didn't sit anywhere near me, and they were nice and quiet. I was like, that's fine. And then just as the film started, 2 blokes walked in with a bag full of curry and sat and ate a curry next to me.
What?
Amazing.
Yeah. I was like, at first I was annoyed because I could smell it, and then I wanted curry, but I had just eaten, so I wasn't too bothered. And they weren't that loud, but they were quite noisy when they first came in. But they didn't know how to.
Is that because of the poppadoms?
But they were quite loud when they were talking to each other. They didn't know how to whisper. So it was, it was an interesting experience.
I feel bad when I take M&Ms that I've not bought at the cinema into the cinema. I never have the balls to bring a whole fucking curry.
To be fair, I used to back when I lived in our hometown, because McDonald's was just across the road. I used to go and get a couple of bacon double cheeseburgers, put them in the pockets of my hoodies, and then go into the film to sit and eat them while watching the film.
You're a madman.
I was a madman. Should we dive right in?
Yeah, all right.
Would you rather live in a fantasy world or a sci-fi world? I didn't want to specifically label would you rather live in Lord of the Rings or Star Wars? So that's why it's a bit vague. So you can pick whichever ones you want or make one up.
Can I have a fantasy world, please?
Let's see if it's on the board.
Bing! Top answer.
53% of people said they wanted to live in a fantasy world. Now spin the wheel.
Better luck next time, John.
Okay, question 2. Well, obviously I'd much rather live in a sci-fi world because in fantasy worlds it gets overrun with orcs and death and destruction. Whereas in sci-fi worlds, if your planet gets destroyed, you just move to another one.
Not if you're on that planet when it gets destroyed.
Well...
Are you planning on timing your jump really well?
I jump to the dark side.
Doesn't that involve doing a flip over Obi-Wan Kenobi and having your arms and legs chopped off? Anyone? No? Okay, moving on.
Yeah, no, I knew what you were talking. I was waiting to see if John had seen episode 3.
John probably thinks Jar Jar Binks is a good character.
I like Jar Jar Binks. And actually, I rewatched The Phantom Menace about 2 years ago. And actually,
so not recently then.
well, recently in the fact that I'm 31, and
What's that to do with the price of fish?
it's more recently than if I was 20.
I watched Sonic last week, and that's sort of fantasy, because I don't know what sci-fi technology means you could throw rings and turn into portals, but that's more of my ilk than robots and stuff.
Okay.
I also think if I were to like snap my fingers and we were to be in a fantasy world pretty sharpish, I think it would probably be a bit easier to connect with people, because we're all terrestrial beings from the same planet, just happen to be different races. Some taller, some shorter, some with pointy ears, some with different coloured skin. But we would all have existed in canon for a very long time together, so there wouldn't be quite as much adjustment. Whereas whenever I watch sci-fi programs and there's translating happening, someone translates as best as they can and says something about your mother used to spend most of her time up against walls with space sailors, and it's a very similar translation to have a nice day. And wars and conflicts happened, and then there's space torpedoes and there's landing craft. It's just not cool. But in the sort of fantasy worlds that I've been looking into, and Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons, Narnia, things like that, everyone speaks English, which is pretty darn useful, because at the moment that is the only language I speak.
Also known as common.
Also known as common, because it is common. And also it makes the game easier to translate into other languages when you just say common, because I'm pretty sure you can play Dungeons and Dragons and speak Portuguese, for example. I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm not a stupid guy, and yet all the mechanics of how warp drives work, like ion shields, railguns, and stuff like that, all the crazy technologies of teleporters, that's all massively beyond my scope. But if you said, John, I need you to gather some flowers and some herbs and a dragon's tooth, and I'm going to make a teleporter, I'd be like, oh, okay, you obviously know what you're doing. These are things I can quantify and find. Let's go make a fucking teleporter. I have no idea how it works. I just take for granted it does work, and that seems to be a similar vein with the technology, but I don't have to understand how it all works. It just does, and that would be cool. Whereas with the high flying technology, you need to understand the zeros and ones and how to carry the three. Otherwise, if you're trying to teleport someone, you might turn them inside out into a big pile of mush. And that's a bit disturbing.
I do want to blow the space trumpet and play the Cantina song.
Oh, good. For some reason, when you said space trumpet, I heard time knife in my head. I was like, yes, we've all seen the time knife.
What's wrong with blowing a particularly non-space trumpet, like an earthen trumpet? What's wrong with that?
Well, you can't play the Cantina song with an earth trumpet.
Funny enough, the Cantina song was created by human beings from Lucasfilms.
Not true. Conspiracy spread by China.
If you'd like to be in on that joke, please listen to last week's episode.
Sponsored by the coronavirus.
Oh, God.
The only way we're going to escape the coronavirus is going into space.
What was the last sci-fi thing you watched, John, where you were pulling inspiration from?
I went and saw Blade Runner at Secret Cinema.
No offence to... Is this original Blade Runner?
Yeah, original Blade Runner.
Nothing against the... Was it Ridley... No, wasn't Ridley Scott? Who was it who did Blade Runner? Mm-hmm. Ridley Scott. It's pretty fucking bleak. I'm not going to lie. It's not very fun. It's really gritty. It's really horrible. Not very fun. Like the streets are absolutely rammed with ridiculous amounts of people and droids, and it's all slummy because the rift between the rich and the poor, the rift grows huge in
just the way I like
in dystopian futures.
I don't think I've seen Blade Runner. Is it quite similar to Demolition Man?
No.
Like all good sci-fi films,
in the way that Harrison Fords live in the slums. Was that Harrison Ford wasn't in Demolition Man?
No, he's in Blade Runner.
But Harrison Ford isn't in All Good. Right, okay. The last fantasy type thing I watched was The Witcher. And how fucking cool is that? You get some superpowered magic man who fights fucking monsters. And there's a closer gap between working your way from being a squire to then being a knight and then making a change and difference to the world. Whereas in the future, because the rift between poverty and the lavish lifestyle of the rich is huge.
But that means you live in a world with monsters.
Don't we live in a world with monsters right now, Matthew?
Yeah,
you
but
just
not...
ask yourself, do you want to be able to see the visible monsters for what they are, or do you want them to stab you in the back without you knowing their true intentions and what they really are capable of?
The problem is with growing up is, as a child, you think the monsters are in your closet or under your bed, and then when you get older, you realise they're actually inside your head.
So a physically manifested monster would be easier to deal with?
Yeah, actually, good point. Well turned on its head.
I believe it was the point I was trying to make originally.
The thing is with the fantasy though, is you live in that world.
Swords. Everyone's got fucking swords. How cool is that?
You live in that world. Are you just going to be you and you're suddenly in a fantasy world? And John, you're just going to be you and you live in a sci-fi world? Or are you imagining like you're Darth Vader and you're Gandalf? Or
I'm imagining that I am Indiana Jones in Star Wars.
Because you're Harrison Ford.
So Han Solo?
No, Indiana Jones.
Okay.
He's Indiana Jones pretending that he's a cool space pirate.
No, I think he genuinely wants to be with a whip and a gun.
I tell you what, I'll be Indiana Jones as well in the fantasy world. And my magic will be a fucking pistol.
Have either of you...
motherfucker.
It just reminded... I'm gonna rewatch it again soon, but it reminded me when you were talking about not understanding the technology. Have either of you seen Firefly?
I've been told it's very good and I should watch it. And it's got Christina Hendricks in, who I really like.
It's absolutely amazing. I refused to watch it for years because it got cancelled after one season. It can't be that good. It should never have been cancelled. I'm on that bandwagon, the same as anybody else who's watched it. It's about 12 episodes. It's a sci-fi western, and it just slowly works through like just a crew aboard a ship and they're smugglers, and that's kind of it. And it goes through all the characters' backstories bit by bit, and it's just really, really good. But there's a bit where they go on the backstory on their engineer, who's what's her name? Jewel State. She's absolutely gorgeous, and she's just like this country bumpkin who's the ship's engineer. And her backstory is basically the captain of the ship goes into the engine room, and at the point in the story, their engineer is this bloke, and he's brought this woman aboard the ship to like show her the ship, and he's having sex with her, and the captain walks in, and they're like, oh, and the captain goes, right, get her off the ship, we need to go. Is everything ready to go? And the engineer goes, yeah, this, and she goes, nope, you're wrong. And they both look at her, and she goes, yeah, when you had me bent over that table over there, I could see, and turns out she knows more about how the engine works than the engineer does. So the captain then goes, well, you're fired, you want a job? And fires the engineer to bring her on because she knows more about the ship than he does. But it's just the whole scene of just, yeah, well, you had me like bent over in that position over there, I could see the way it was working. So not knowing the technology, that's down to yourself. I mean, when we were 10, we didn't know how to build a desktop from scratch, and then we learned.
True story.
Do you think it's as easy to learn magic?
It's in a tome. You can read it. Or you could be a sorcerer and just be inherently magic and badass. Or, like last week, you could sell your soul to some sort of patron and you get sugar daddy magic powers.
Which is definitely the way to go.
Definitely the way to go.
Maximum output, minimum input.
Yep. And if you don't want to do ridiculous high-flying, ridiculous adventures, you could always just settle down and be a merchant, a farmer. You don't have to go and put your life on the line all the time. Whereas in the cold, deep, depressing vacuum of space, every day is a danger.
No, you can also be a farmer.
Or a merchant.
Have you seen Tatooine recently? I would not want to be a farmer or a merchant there.
But he doesn't have to be.
No, don't have to be.
Well, okay then, so tell me the fantasy world you'd live in, whether it's one based on one that exists or not, and what your role in that world would be.
Do we tell you about my current Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which I'm actually really quite enjoying? Or is that another theme for another day?
Well, you've brought it up now, but I feel like we isolate John when we talk about D&D.
We probably also isolate John when we talk about Pokemon or anime.
Did you watch Love, Death and Robots yet, John?
I've seen it, so we're talking about you, John.
Oh, no.
Well,
Yeah.
next time, instead of watching a film about pigs, I suggest you watch it. One of them's about Nazis.
Oh, okay.
One of them is about sci-fi farmers who get overrun by aliens that come through a big rift.
Oh, that's a good one.
They've got to be in their big mech combine harvesters to save the day.
It's really good. You should watch it. We haven't finished question one yet, but that's suggestion of the week. If you've not yet seen it, watch Love, Death and Robots. It's like 15 shorts that are between 10 and 25 minutes long, all different styles of animation. One of them, I didn't realise it was animated until it got towards the end.
With the guy and the girl running through the apartment blocks.
Yeah. It's wow, just wow. I might actually watch one or two of them again tonight. Anyway, Fantasy World, your role. Sci-Fi World, your role. Let's go.
I'll let John go first.
Oh,
Why am I going to give you time to think?
because that's what we
get
do.
in there, partner. Get on the horse, saddle up, ride the bull.
You know that John is in a constant state of buffering.
I know. After 99 episodes, you thought I'd fucking figure this out sooner rather than later.
So what is my sci-fi world?
And what is your part in it?
Yeah, is it one that already exists, or...
No, it's not. I am a scientist in a lab that discovers the secret to invading brains. And I go into people's brains overnight when they're sleeping and fuck them up.
Oh, so you're Freddy Krueger?
Or you're in Inception.
I think given the choice between the two, he's more like Freddy Krueger. But it's your world, John. Which one are you?
I don't know. Neither of those things. This is a different one.
A different one?
Yeah.
When you say fuck them up, what do you mean?
Space Cowboy.
You are a scientist that goes into people's brains and makes them become space cowboys?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. John?
Hello.
It's your turn.
Right, how do I abridge this? I make this a shorter, more. Long story short, the fantasy world that we're in is called Mercia, and there's a big horde over to the west, and there is a gate which keeps them all back and keeps sort of higher society on the east safe. And unfortunately, the gate has collapsed. When we found out, it's through someone making dealings with the slightly more organised members of the horde to boost their social status. And that is a conniving dwarf. And in my party, I have tieflings, I have humans, I have more dwarven monks. So it's quite a nice range of characters and people that are within the group. So it's quite inclusive, and they're all working towards a common goal of making Mercia more habitable. So we're still early days yet, but the intent is there. There isn't murder hobos, which is quite nice. And there are so many details that I've got that I would actually bore you to death with, but I find really endearing.
Right,
you know that Mercia is a real place? Or it was. It was an Anglo-Saxon kingdom.
I did not know that. Thank you, John.
Okay, so you live in a generic fantasy world. What are you? What do you do?
I'm a dark elf ex-merchant sorcerer, wild magic sorcerer. So I was given innate powers at birth. I tried to not use them and try and make my way by myself, and then realised I wasn't making as big a difference as I thought I could. So I'm leading into the magic, and it's achieving wonderful things in a very short period of time.
So your character didn't think he was going to make much of a difference being a shopkeeper?
A stone merchant, but yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, what's a stone merchant if not a shopkeeper that sells stone?
Helping build civilizations, but you know.
I think I'm going to go with sci-fi world.
Space Cowboys!
Well, because of various things. First of all, I think
any of them which John have said?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I mean, I was... If I had the choice, I would rather go to fantasy, but I think the choice is sci-fi because it's more attainable, it's more realistic. There is more possibility of one of John's descendants becoming a scientist that can break into people's brains and change their genetic makeup that can teach them how to be a space cowboy than there is you becoming a dark elf sorcerer
Stone merchant.
Stone merchant in
Wait, the
an
idea is it's
Anglo-Saxon
called
world
fantasy.
that already existed. Yeah, and his just sounds more attainable.
And oh my god.
And also, I feel like for the amount of prep that we don't do for these questions, you've had a lot more prep time without knowing it than he has, and he did do quite well.
He did do quite well up to the point that me and you started talking about Love, Death and Robots and going, oh, I really want to watch more Love, Death and Robots.
Yeah, and because he's won, he now has some trust in me and is going to at least give it a try. Isn't that right, John?
Sure.
See? So,
Sorry,
1-0, 1-0, John. We've told you our suggestion. Watch Love, Death and Robots. There's some of them are about love, some of them are about death, some of them are about robots.
Most of them involve Death and Robots.
Yeah, and Nazis and... it's just so good. It's so good. It's just a roller coaster. Anyway, question 2. Would you rather age 4 times slower or never have to work?
When you say never have to work, what's the caveat that you're putting on
Yeah.
this? Because I know it's going to be a lot less straightforward than I believe.
I'll give you basically in your career of when you should be working. So we'll say it's from 18 to 65 because that's retirement. I will give you a base salary appropriate to your age is what it should be. So basically, let's say your salary per year is your age times 1,000. So when you're 18, you're on 18 grand. When you're 30, you'll be on 30 grand. When you're 40, you'll be on 40 grand. Up until retirement age at 65, and then you'll retire. I think that's attainable. That's kind of a realistic goal. For me, anyway, that's a realistic goal that I can aim for. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I go with that one?
Never have to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'd much rather age 4 times slower.
Is that because 65 grand in London don't get you shit?
Partially.
I mean, you don't
You could
have
buy
to live-
McDonald's. I'm sure you could buy a McDonald's for 65 grand.
I'm sure
Yeah.
in the real world, people that are successful in their careers, like as far as I would deem, there's different levels of success. But probably like in my career, probably the teeter would be like when I hit about 40, 45, maybe 50, I'll be at my peak earnings, and then it will start to go down again. But I think what I put out, I mean, 18 grand a year, give it 2 years, that'll be less than minimum wage. But 18 grand a year as an 18-year-old is, when we were 18, was fairly okay.
Fine.
Yeah. We'll say it was from, like, you were still born at the same point, so you were both still born in 88 and 89. Who dropped the penny? Did someone just realise that they didn't know their date of birth?
No, I took my wedding ring off. I was looking how scuffed and scratched it is.
Oh, no, is everything
probably
okay?
Probably sorted out. No, it's just... No, it needs redipping. I need more, like, wear and finish back on it. 'Cause
Oh, that's
it's pretty
disgusting.
fucking beaten up.
Yes,
Don't
talking
need to
about
talk about your
dipping.
penis.
This will be the one episode that she listens to as well. I was like, John, why are you telling people about our sex life? And why do you refer to it as dipping? You know what? Keep it off.
What were we talking about again?
Never having to work or aging 4 times slower.
Oh yeah, aging 4 times slower. Because, well, I don't know about you, but I live every day trying to be happy, whether I go to work or not. And
I think everyone lives their day trying to be happy.
yeah, I think life is all about having the right mindset. If you never had to work again, I think you could very quickly become despondent and bored because you didn't have a proper purpose. And that if you didn't have the right mindset, never having to work again could actually be the worst thing that could possibly happen to you.
In that sentence, though, you're saying that to work is your purpose.
No. Just I'm
This is
saying
my primary objective.
I'm just saying that it helps create structure for some people, and that is helpful in some people's lives in making sure that they feel fulfilled. And when people lose that structure, it can have, obviously, I think you should always have things outside of work, but work, being good at your job and stuff, gives people validation. And when people don't enjoy their job, it's normally because they don't get any validation from the people around them that they're doing a good job and, helping out people in some way. So I don't particularly mind working in the sense that it does give you that sense of structure, but also it does enable you to go and do other things that you want to go do, and you value them more because you can't do them every day. If I could just walk off into the mountains and have great mountain views every day, would they feel as special as when I go out on the weekends to do them? I don't know. It's hard to say, but I doubt it. So value every day, whether you're at work or not. And shit, the penny's dropped.
Sorry, I was getting bored. I was fiddling, waiting for my turn. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Bored.
I inadvertently actually interrupted you. I'm really sorry, John.
You were getting bored recording your own podcast that we expect other people to listen to. That's the snippet that we'll use for our advertisement right there.
Sorry. I'm trying to be patient and let John finish his section, and I'm trying to be holding what I'm going to say in the forefront of my mind and not interject and butt in rudely. Because what John's on about is quite earnest and is quite sensible. But as I've interrupted, I shall continue.
It was all a ruse, John.
It's all a ruse. It's all a plan.
I mean, if you're not working, you're going to have to hold your tongue a lot and hold that thought for ages, because all your friends are going to be at work and you're going to have to wait until they finish work to be able to tell them the story you were thinking of 4 hours ago.
But you know who doesn't have a job? My little boy doesn't have a job. If I didn't have to work, I could be at home every day and we could hang out and we could build dens, kick a ball in the park. I could spend so much more quality time with him. He's at 2 placements at the moment. One of them is really good for him, where he gets to see loads of other kids and interact really nicely, and the other one that he's actually at most of the time is fucking awful, but it's convenient. It's not a particularly good place to be. He's an incredibly large fish in a very small pond.
Is he joined a gang?
No, he's just at a nursery that he's the oldest kid there, and he's way overdeveloped compared to the 2 other ones near his age. So he's not challenged. He's not pushing himself. He just gets lethargic and snippy, and it's quite annoying because he's not actually having fun there. So if I were to be not working and still being able to provide for my family, I could do things with him. We could go out, we could learn, we could explore, we could play, and I feel that I'd be doing a better job than I am now. If I had more time on my hands, I could train the dog better so she wouldn't be quite as feisty. If I had more time on my hands, I could put the 10,000 hours in and actually be really good at guitar. I could try reading music again. I've got loads of things that I want to do, but I just don't have the time. I need to go to work to pay the bills.
It's very interesting points from both sides. I'm going to escalate the conversation in a minute, but I get where both of you are coming from. I'm definitely one of those people that I live to work. My biggest worry about my job change now is I've gone from basically hotels to restaurants, and as much as the amount of shit that comes with hotels, because there's so many departments and so many hoops to jump through when I am F&B based, I've spent so long getting used to it, and I am a bit of a martyr, whether it comes, I'm just a bit of a martyr in general. Am I going to miss that stress? On paper, no, of course not. In reality, shit, I might. But the concept of working to live, I would love to not work, and we could all agree if we won the lottery tomorrow, fuck yeah, not going to work anymore. I'd buy a row of terrace houses somewhere. I would invite you all to come and move in with me. And if it was a proper amount of money, and we would just have a modest but happy life and work on pet projects. I know that there's things that, whether it's hobbies or software development or whatever, there would be a large group of us together and we would just become a hive mind. The multimedia thing that John Ralphio and Tom Haverford come up with in Parks and Rec, where they don't actually do anything. But if we had the money, we could just...
Could we reform Corner Toddler?
We could do whatever we wanted if you had the money.
If I lived 4 times as long, which I guess is kind of the upside of having to work in this situation. I could become, yes, you'll have more time potentially to free time, but I've got 4 times as long. I could, in that time, I could definitely become an expert in all sorts of things and have time to develop all sorts of ideas. And, if generally you get paid more as age goes by, and that's attainable, well, by the time I'm 65 times 4, I'm going to be earning shitloads of money.
Another question for you, John. This is an awful one to pose to you.
Mm-hmm.
But are you prepared to see everyone that you love die?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. I don't want to concede, but if John is ready for that, then that's
if
something
we do,
I'm not ready for.
Let's do the math, yeah? So he ages 4 times slower. So for every one year that he lives, we age 4 years. Essentially. Is that right? Have I done the math? Yeah. So when you started university, you were 18. You met your wife.
Mm-hmm.
She was 18. When you finished university, when you finished your master's degree, you were 19. And she will have been 22. Does that sound about right? Yeah. So she's now 3 years older than you, which, I mean, as far as certain other aspects of your life go, having a young man with an older woman will improve certain things because of, stamina and excitement and other things. But we won't talk about that because, like we said, we don't want to be blue.
Matt, you're better at maths than I am. When does it become to the point where Kirsten would be...
Kirsten would be 30 when John was 21.
So when is the point where Kirsten would be too old to go out with John because it's half her age plus 7?
Well, John would be 23 when she was 42. She would be 46. John would be 22. 23 would make her 50. Add on another 3. So John would be 26 when she was 62.
It's too young, mate. It's too young.
So John would, given life expectancy, John would hit 30 when she would potentially be passing away. Which sounds sad, but in fact, no, I'm arguing for you, John. What are you going to do? So you're now 25 and your wife is, what age did we say?
Old.
60 odd, 62 or
whatever. How old am I?
You're 25 and your wife's 62. I can't remember the math of it now, but...
Yeah, because we started at an awkward point.
Yeah, so 18 plus 7 would make you 25. 7 times 4 is 28. So she'd be 30, 46. So you're 25, she's 46.
Okay.
So she'd be 50 when you're 26.
Okay.
That's cougar territory there, because that is beyond half her age plus 7.
And that's assuming that you were born back in the 40s or whatever it would be. So that I think the pin in your life is probably 18, where we'll stretch it either side.
So once John is fully matured, he then ages quarter as fast.
No, he still ages 4 times slower. But I'm saying if we did it from 1989, then John would still only be about 6. And obviously, probably, as you pose, the most important part about this is probably people he cares about. And I'm assuming the person he cares about most is his wife. I know she doesn't listen, but even if she did, he has to say yes. So we'll put the pin in the 18s. So he was born in the 40s or whatever it would be. He met her at the same time that he did meet her.
Matt, I love you dearly, but can we stop talking maths? This is not making for interesting listening.
Sorry, I like numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie, unlike words. But okay, so anyway, John is 26 and his wife is 50.
Okay.
Okay, so what's going on now? Take yourself back 4 years.
What's the problem with that?
The problem that I posed originally was, are you prepared for everyone that you love to die? Matt's dying in 10 years? I've got maybe 20. Kirsten's probably got another 50 to go.
So basically it's going to happen anyway.
Well, I mean, everyone dies.
Yeah, but you will outlive us all handsomely.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone that you know that's the similar age to you will be dead by the time you're about 34, 35?
But that's assuming that I don't meet anybody new in that time. So, yeah, I'll obviously miss you guys. that's going to be a big loss.
I mean, it's easier. I'm going to help you out here, so you don't have to say it. It's easier for you to replace us as friends, but the relationship side of that, like, are you going to be 34 with an 80-year-old wife?
Are you going to take a load of new people to Norway?
Norway's going to be
2.0.
underwater.
True.
Yeah, you're going to live through global warming.
No, I don't need to replace you guys with a whole new bunch of friends, because over time you meet new people and they all overlap. So I have you guys as friends. I don't need to stop being friends with you to make other friends. Over time, yeah, you will die, but
The sacrifice you're willing to make.
but over those, you're thinking about it from your own perspective. You're not thinking about it from my perspective.
No, I am.
From my perspective,
You're all
I've
replaceable.
I've got 4 times as long to make more friends.
Think of it this way: you'll be doing this podcast for 4 times longer,
I won't.
and you've got to recruit 2 new people. One of them has to be called John.
Well,
To be honest, everyone that was born a similar time to John would be dead around the time he turned 18. If we
Hey,
take
Matt, I'll
it,
do you a deal. If you pay my bills and let me not work for a living, I will record the podcast and I will edit them as well.
I don't trust you with the editing. You've seen what I do to you. Don't take the power away. I like it.
Just trying to help you out, mate. You know, I have more time on my hands.
It is a nice burden.
Okay, well, John's not actually bothered about people dying, so let's talk about more of the fun things that I could achieve while I was alive and not working.
Well, no, I think we've spoken about that long enough.
yeah, we need to bring things up.
Bring things to a close. Wrap things up. Ready for question 3. Anyway, I genuinely went into this not knowing, and I'm still. I think John kind of touched on it. I mean, basically, you both get similar kind of recreational time, except John's is spread out a lot longer. I mean, the last kind of 15 years of life are going to get harder as your body starts to slow down. You're going to see a lot of people die, but essentially you get to have 4 lives. You get to live your childhood 4 times over. You get to live your 20s 4 times over. I mean, I wouldn't want to live my 20s 4 times over because I'd definitely be riddled with STDs, but the opportunity is there. You get to live your 30s 4 times over. Like, you basically get a do-over. It's sad to say that we'll all be gone when John's like 34 or whatever, given that we all live to 80. As we said, I'm not making it that far. But at 34, he can meet someone new, have a new group of friends, and have another life. The same as his childhood, he gets to have another life. The childhood, I think, would be the hardest part, because all of your friends you'd have to have a new group of friends every year. So it wouldn't be until you were kind of hitting that 16, 17, 18 marks that you make the friends for the rest of your lives. But let's be honest, we didn't really become friends till we were like 16, 17, collectively. We all kind of knew each other from here or there, and we're the friends that have lasted. So, yeah, I think having the opportunity to live 4 lives, better than 1 good life, but maybe I'm just a martyr for my work. So, yeah, I think I'm with John on this one.
Woohoo!
It was really difficult, though. I didn't know where I was going to go with that. I completely get both, but I mean, let's be honest, either one is amazing. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just no one replied. I was like, oh, didn't. Yeah, no, I'm sticking with that decision. It was really difficult. Leave us some messages. Send us some messages if you disagree. Or tell us what you do with the extra time, other than watch the people you love die. Shall we cheer things up a bit? Get a bit dark, but there is something that you need to think about when considering immortality.
Yes.
We've had a similar one to this before, but I've just finished watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm now watching the second series, which is The Legend of Korra, set like 70 years later or something. And we've been talking about sci-fi, which we didn't bring up the fifth element. So if you had the ability to control an element, would you pick water, fire, earth, or air?
I'd probably pick water, because water's quite dynamic in the fact that it can either be an absolute crushing force, or it could be more gentle, like a little flowing stream. So you've got something
Was that your Tinder bio?
It could be anything. I could be whatever you want me to be. Fluid. There we go. Very fluid.
John?
I would control. It's a hard question, actually.
It's not a would you rather question either, which I think is why we're struggling. We've got too many options.
Yes. So I would rather control Earth.
Earth. Okay.
I just think you could do more with it. I feel like the others are structurally quite destructive. You can't do much with fire apart from destroy things. Obviously water does bring life and stuff, but yeah, you're probably also gonna cause mass destruction with that as well.
Do you know why I picked water, John?
Yeah, go on.
Because I could redeflate the flow of water and make an oxbow lake for you.
Oh, love oxbow lakes. But you could probably also do that with earth anyway, because you just move the earth around the water until it was an oxbow lake.
But then it's not the water forming a new path of least resistance, so it wouldn't quite be the same thing by definition.
Well, no, it wouldn't. But
how did you manage
the same end result?
How did you manage to take a question based on? I'm not sure if it's an anime or a cartoon because it was on Nickelodeon, but you've managed to make it more nerdy. That's impressive. I'm
trying to play to my audience here.
I applaud you.
And I think if there's one thing I know about the Earth...
Oh God, here we go. One of John's famous facts.
And I've always said this.
I knew you were about to say that.
But houses on top of hills are more valuable. So I could go and buy property that's at the bottom of a hill that's worth absolutely nothing, because I've always said this, houses at the bottom of hills are just worth shit.
To be fair, as someone who goes to music festivals a lot, I never camp at the bottom of a hill.
Yep. And then I could just lift the earth a bit so it's on top of a hill and then sell it for 3 times as much. It's a great business plan.
Okay, stepping on the toes of what I was about to do, I was going to say what would be the first thing you'd do with your power, but I'm guessing John would buy a plot of land, turn it into a hill, and build a house on it.
I just do a proof of concept. Like there's a glass of squash sitting right in front of me. I just levitate the water out of the glass and then put it back in and go like, oh, well that's cool. I can do that now.
Okay.
I think I go surfing a lot more. I'd go like surfing on gravel water. That'd be quite fun. I wouldn't have to go all the way to deepest darkest Devon to go surfing.
Okay.
Or I'd be a lifeguard. How good would that be? Oh no, little Timmy's drowning. That's fine. Water parts out the way. You can stand at the bottom of the thing. Just walk over there, Moses style, parting the pool.
I actually think that controlling Earth is almost, not quite, almost the same thing as being able to control water, because anything that you need to do with water, you can probably do by moving the Earth around it. Like if you need water to fall, you just raise the Earth around it and then it's a waterfall. If you want it to flood Norwich, then you just lower the Earth a little bit more.
If you need a drink, just drink some gravel. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
You know what I mean.
Okay, well, let's step it up a notch. You two are about to have a fight. What's your signature move you're going to do with your power?
Without being harsh, I just fucking drown John.
I just cover him with gravel.
Okay. You can't.
We're both dead now.
You can't create these things. You can just control them.
Okay, then all the people with beer in the stands fighting and cheering for us to die, I would draw it all towards me, and then I'd envelop John in a cube of beer and drown him in joy, happiness that
Okay.
beer brings.
Okay, that's your move. John, how do you retaliate?
A big sinkhole develops all around John, so he can't escape, and he falls into a pit of lava.
It's going to take an awful long way to get several miles down through the Earth's crust. Or are we having this fight in an abandoned volcano?
John went big. He's a very powerful earthbender, apparently. I mean, you can control beer.
Okay, well, if we get to choose where we fight, let's fight on an oil rig. Because that would suit me better rather than fighting in a fucking volcano where John can open up the whole of the Earth to swallow me. Or is this like one of those Pokemon stadiums where it just changes every now and again?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the easiest way. There's some water, there's some rocks.
I just raise the seabed.
Or just close off the access to water.
Yeah.
John, have you got a retaliation for that?
I would move with the water so it was always sat on top of whatever you're raising. I'd change the water. I would change the surface tension so it was not congealed, but continuous mass, and then just envelop you in it.
But if you have to thin it that much, then it might not harm me anymore.
I'm not thinking it. I'm holding it together.
I'll drink it all.
Right. That's
if you
it.
drink 4.5 litres of water, you drown in your own body.
I drank it all.
I'm calling it there. I'm going to give you some backstory on it so you understand. There was in the cartoon, as much as I've seen anyway, the only group that could create their element were the firebenders, and they could also control lightning. The waterbenders, there was an evil sect that could bloodbend and control blood.
Ooh.
The earthbenders also learnt to control sand and metal eventually, which is quite. The airbenders are just amazing, but they didn't learn anything else. They were just a bit too spiritual, and most of them are dead. Sorry, spoilers, everyone. They tell you that in episode 1 anyway. But I think, given what you've told me, earthbending wins. Being able to control the earth element purely for making money off of real estate. I mean, it just makes more sense. I am probably around earth and rock more than I am water. And also, you never said that you would just suck all of the water out of his body so that he was dead. So that'd be the obvious thing to do.
I thought that was too easy.
Well, you're trying to win. This is a fight to the death.
This
And
has never
drowning
happened before.
someone isn't good enough. Okay.
No, drowning doesn't work. He's 80% water already.
I got 99 episodes, and I whitewashed one.
So sucking all of the moisture out of him makes him 100% Earth. That doesn't sound right.
Are we
No.
just going to ignore this?
We are.
Oh, did you just win all 3?
Yeah, for the first time in 99 episodes.
Really? Is that the first time you've ever whitewashed someone?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I got 99 episodes, and I whitewashed one.
Sounds like a Jay-Z song.
Oh.
I think that's the joke, John.
I had to say it twice.
I just can't believe you've never whitewashed
Jay-Z
before.
was.
Yeah, he's collaborating with him on his next album.
Oh man, I already got Skepta on the line for that. I have to ring him up and let him know that he's going to be turned down.
Oh no, 6 of the 18 songs have got a collaborating artist on. Because we don't want to take away from John's talent, but we also need, like Little Dicky, where he's got all these famous people on the songs to get it out there into public domain. So we've got Jay-Z, we've got Skepta, we have got Little Dicky, I can officially say now.
Have we got an Ed Sheeran collab for the one that's going to sell loads of records?
Yeah, because Ed Sheeran's on everything these days. There is quite a nice it's quite poppy, but John does break the rap down to make it a bit more less mainstream. But Little Mix is on one of them. But we're not going to tell you the 6th one. The 6th one is a well-held secret. Okay, it's Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I thought it was Public Enemy.
No. And the whole thing's being produced by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes!
We couldn't get Public Enemy. They said you were too raw for them.
Favourite Flavour is busy finding a new wife.
We had to turn away Sugar Hill Gang.
Just weren't interested.
We just had too many big names. We were fans, but, well, I am a fan. But, yeah, so we keep digging ourselves this hole where John is going to record a rap album. He's yet to record a rap song, but it will happen.
If enough people sign up to our Patreon, we will make it happen.
Oh, God. If enough people sign up to the Patreon, we can actually get Lin-Manuel Miranda to fucking produce it.
Why not?
Exactly. And then we'll release a second album, which is the same as the first album, but it's just example remixing all the songs.
I'm up for it.
There we go.
Is example up for it? Find out.
My phone's just gone off. He said he is if we pay him enough. So there we go. Help us out.
Help us out.
Tell a friend. Give us 20p. Don't really care. Just leave us some comments. Let us know what was funny, what was not. Okay, don't let us know what wasn't funny, but let us know what was funny. You've all got things to do. We don't want to take up that much of your time. And please, actually, genuinely, if everyone listening to this gives us £1, then eventually we'll have enough money that we have to force John to make a rap album. And there is nothing he'd hate more than not to make the rap album, not to record the rap album, but for it to be successful and then him have to go on stage numerous times to perform the rap album. Does that sound like a personal nightmare for you, John?
Possibly.
Until the fame went to your head.
Which it obviously would within 3 days.
Oh, definitely. Like your wife just going home, just go, I can't deal with you anymore, and you just got a house full of like wild animals,
Grammys,
exotic pets, and he's just sat there in like shirt unbuttoned, big chains on. He's like, but babe, you just understand success.
That's just Wednesday.
Right, these two have been John. I've not been, and I'm going to start penning the rap album. We'll see you next time.
All the best. Right, well, I'm going to go to bed now.
Really?
Yeah.
I start a new job tomorrow.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Let me know how it goes.
No.